Someone's about to get hurt.
Goo Man, what happened? You were number 11 last year. Why are you 23 all of a sudden? Well, my people, in the year of continuously playing this game, I've not only discovered new champions, but I've also fallen in love with several of the reworks that have happened, thus pushing my favorite gelatinous fighter even lower on my list despite his gameplay being the shining star that it was last year. But that doesn't mean I don't enjoy playing Zack. He is a champion you pick when you just want to be annoying. The amount of disruption he offers is useful and fun. You can effectively lock down high priority targets for a decent amount of time. Hopefully long enough for your team to do something because he cannot do damage on his own. That is probably the only issue I have with his kit. He's definitely not damage oriented, which is kinda upsetting because I'm selfish as hell and I want to be the one getting all the kills. Don't get me wrong. I still play him full AP health, and I instantly regret it as he falls off late game, but I am still very appreciative of how much utility you provide for your team. As soon as the enemy sees this blob emerge from the darkness flying towards them at Mach 20, they might as well take their hands off the mouse and keyboard because now Zack tells them where to go. Launch them into the air, make them run into each other, or group them up and bring them towards your team. Zack might as well be the new Sombra cause you're in control, baby. He might have dropped lower on my list with the introduction of new champions as well as the new changes they've made to older ones, but Zack is still a wonderful source of entertainment that will always be useful in any game by mere kit design alone.
Here goes everything.
Poppy's abilities grant her control of any fight she's in. You can pin enemies against a wall to hold them down with a stun, use her Q to slow the people in front of you, combine her passive with a Deadman's or Iceborne to make it a ranged slow, and my favorite of them all, stop them from escaping. Watching enemies squirm as they run face first into your E is a treat to see. Nah, son, you gotta walk like the rest of us now. That is, if you can survive. I pick Poppy when I want to keep those dash abusing champions in place. It is honestly a bane to my existence trying to keep up with champions who can just keep on dashing with no cost. So Poppy really appeals to me as a champion who can engage and effectively disrupt priority targets on the enemy team. And nothing disrupts a team more than literally knocking them out of a fight. It's amazing how useful and fun this ultimate can be. Take out any pesky frontline champions to expose your real targets, or save lives by getting rid of anyone trying to give your team a grand chase. There isn't much else you can do with it other than be defensive, since it'll always knock the enemy towards their base. If anything, releasing her ults very quickly to do a small knockup in place is the only way of using this ability offensively, since it buys you and your team a couple precious seconds to set up for taking that target down. I do wish there were some more opportunities to use our ult in different ways, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy how useful it is at the job it was created for. Now whenever I see champions like Ahri, Jarvan, Galio, etc., I get a little sparkle in my eyes, cause I know just the right Yordle to call.
I'm gonna enjoy this.
The Tony Stark of League of Legends. I like to think of his full metal skin as the Iron Man suit he'd wear to protect Piltover, even though I know what the obvious reference is. But back to what matters for this list. Jayce's kit is one of the most unique in the game, being able to swap from range to melee with just one button, and offering you 6 beautiful abilities to help you mess people up. Each of these abilities have their own set of cooldowns, which makes swapping between each of them fluid and fun. Jayce is pretty easy to use despite having more abilities to keep track of. It's all about swapping your playstyle with the press of a button. If you swap to the cannon, pretend you're an ADC or a mid laner and spam from afar. If you swap to the hammer, pretend you're an assassin and just all in one target. It's really that simple. I appreciate this hybrid kit because you can be a terrifying source of damage at any distance. It's also what allows him to be a threat in any lane, even bot, if you feel like ruining someone's day. And that includes anyone on your own team as well. He may not have some flashy ultimate, but he more than makes up for this in the pressure he provides. If you try to play it safe by staying away, you'll end up playing one of the most dangerous games of dodgeball ever. If you decide to walk up to him, you better be prepared to take a burst of damage because when all you have is a hammer, everyone else is a nail. Jayce is a fun and safe champion who offers you two different styles of play in one glorious package, and it's this flexibility that makes him so goddamn fun to play.
Behold my power.
I straight up regret not including Zehra on last year's list. I recently started playing him and I probably have discovered the embodiment of spam on League next to Vel'Koz. What makes Zehra fun is the onslaught of long distance spells you can throw at the enemy team. Your objective is to remain a consistent threat of magic damage while the rest of your team charges into the fray. They take the hits for you, meanwhile you just keep on chucking as many arcane projectiles as you can. Zehra is that one tiny character that is always sticking his head out from behind a larger character. And I honestly think that's the best analogy I can use to describe him. Zehra is a very safe champion to play. You have abilities that hurt a lot and do not require you to get close at all. Hell, you even have a stun to help keep people from getting in your face. But if you miss it, may soul rest your soul. Regardless, your enemies should not feel safe at any moment as long as you're alive, even if they've lost sight of you. If anything, that should be when they're most terrified, because as soon as they try to recall to safety, feel free to rain down meteors from above. There's honestly not much more that needs to be said about his kit. It's very simple and satisfies the role it was set out to do while managing to remain fun. Sometimes you just want to spam abilities until your enemy is dead, and Zehra is one of the best champions to do that.
Still stands!
Irelia is one of the most visually impressive champions. Every skill of hers is a marvel to witness, especially in the hands of an experienced player who knows how to take advantage of her absurd movement. Irelia is capable of dashing to any enemy target she chooses. When you time this ability well with the health of the minions or any marked enemies, you can be zooming across the battlefield so much that you put even Yasuo to shame. Irelia is essentially centered around this one ability. Her other skills are utilized to reset her dash, thus granting you that bonus shield shattering damage from her passive while also making you hard to hit. This hypermobility is what is so enjoyable about Irelia. She's a fighter champion that moves so effortlessly, and when you coordinate her skills well enough, you can't help but feel really skilled. For real, this champion brings out my inner elitist that I've tried to bury down in the deepest realms of my psyche for my own mental well-being. Of course, continuing to play the game that spawned this creature makes it difficult in general to keep them away. Her ultimate is really cool though. You create a field of blades that slice through anyone that tries to pass through them. It's aesthetically one of the coolest ultimates in the game, but what makes it interesting is the disarm debuff it applies. Anyone who walks through those blades cannot auto-attack for a couple seconds, buying you some precious time to dash across the marked enemies and reach them. Of course, this means diving hella deep into enemy territory, so unless you're like 20-0, make sure you have a team backing you up when you engage. Plus, it's good to have the team because I swear whenever I hear Irelia shout when she's using her ultimate, I feel compelled to fight anyone. For real, this woman can motivate me for any fight. I'll admit, I am still struggling to understand how to use her kit well, but regardless of my own skill, I still find it enjoyable to learn more as I play her, and that speaks volumes about my enjoyment from this champion.
The bigger they are,
The louder they scream.
Ah, it was about time this game got an edgy DeviantArt OC. But jokes aside, Kane is one of those champions that makes me jealous of junglers. He introduced something entirely new to this game, a choice between two permanent transformations, each with their own upgrades that are better suited for different roles. Kane is excruciatingly underpowered in his base form, which is understandable when his other forms are powerful as hell. They're honestly the true stars of his kit. Personally, I prefer to play Shadow Assassin. He's faster, his abilities flow into each other much better, and can outright delete champions. Being able to use his long-reaching slow without having to remain rooted grants you the freedom to make those blink-of-an-eye burst plays. It's such a small upgrade, but it's so liberating. I can't put it to words. Now every time I'm playing base Kane, I feel so goddamn sluggish because of it. But just because I have a preference for Shadow Assassin doesn't mean Rost is terrible. In fact, people always question why I don't use Rost. Rost is more of a fighter. He isn't gonna burst anyone as fast as Shadow Assassin, but this guy just won't die. His passive pretty much becomes a death stance, and it stacks with other lifesteal items too. He also provides a knockup, thus making him more useful for your team in terms of CC. But I'm not too fond of Rost because Kane's kit seems better suited for an assassin instead of a fighter. Shadow Assassin takes more advantage of his ability to walk over walls to creep up on the enemy ADC, and makes his slow more powerful while maintaining motion. I guess Shadow Assassin just comes to me more naturally than Rost does. Y'all already know I'm not a jungler, but Kane's design is too fun and interesting for me to not try to play him when I can.
The right to rule held in my hand.
Swain is one of my favorite AP tanks for his damage and utility. You can provide a vision, a snare, and a pull while at the same time doing some respectful damage. You're like a combination of Elise, Ashe, and Blitzcrank all in one beautiful champion. He's also pretty versatile. You can be AP tank for top lane, a glass cannon for mid, or an ADC? I mean, I'm all for breaking the meta, but I'm not gonna go anywhere near this. If it works for you, then you do you, boo. Swain has a pretty basic combination. Snare, yank their soul out, and blast them with arcane lightning. It's pretty much the same combo you'll be doing over and over again, and the fact that you can yank the soul out of enemies who have been CC'd by your allies makes you even more useful for your team. But honestly, what makes this dude so fun is his ultimate. Ascend into your demonic form and charge in to unleash hell across the field. It's a monstrous buff that gives you great incentive to be at the center of the fight. My favorite spot to be. Not only do you get a good chunk of bonus HP, you also consistently suck the life out of everyone around you. Not crazy amounts like Vladimir, but it's still free damage you're just gushing out all around you. Pair this with a Rylai's and you become a walking blizzard draining their health. This can also help you land your abilities easier while you're ulting, so you can prepare them for the grand, explosive finale. This ult is just too much fun. Also, it looks so damn cool. I know he's a warlock and not a vampire, but I can't help but feel like Alucard going into a transformation whenever I ult with Swain. Oh? You want to fight me? Hold on.
Let me get some syrup!